Chapter 1. Gun on Head. The gun is already pressed against the back of your head. You didn't hear him come in. You didn't feel the cockpit door open. 1 second you were descending through 34,000 feet over the Atlantic. The next, cold steel, against your skull. And a voice says 4 words that will change everything. Do not touch anything. Chapter 2. Frozen flight. Your hands freeze above the controls. Your co-pilot is rigid in the seat beside you. You can see his knuckles. White. Tight. He's not moving either. His eyes cut sideways toward you for half a second, just long enough to say, "Don't do anything stupid." You don't. You breathe. Your name is on the captain's license clipped to your jacket. 17 years of flying, 42 countries. You've landed in 0 visibility. You've lost an engine over the Pacific. You've talked down panicking passengers during 60-foot turbulence drops. But you have never felt anything like this. The man behind you is calm. That's what scares you most. He isn't yelling. He isn't shaking. His voice is flat and controlled, like someone reading from a script they've rehearsed 100 times. And that means one thing. He planned this. He tells you to maintain your current heading. You're flying a Boeing 777, Flight 1142, departed London Heathrow 3 hours and 47 minutes ago. Destination: New York. JFK. 287 passengers behind that locked door. Families, business travelers, a school group in rows 22 through 29. And somewhere in that cabin, more of them. Because a man this calm doesn't do this alone. You don't know how many. You don't know what they want. Not yet. But you're starting to understand something terrifying. This was not random. They chose this flight. They chose you. The question is why. Chapter 3. Hidden threats. 3 minutes pass. They feel like 3 years. The man hasn't moved the gun. Your neck is starting to ache from sitting perfectly still. Your co-pilot reaches slowly, very slowly, for the radio. A micro movement, a professional's instinct. Don't. 1 word. The gun presses harder. Your co-pilot pulls his hand back. You're cut off from air traffic control. London Center has been calling you for the last 4 minutes. You know this because the secondary radio, the one the hijacker doesn't know about, is blinking silently in the lower panel. The blinking is a question. Are you okay? You can't answer it. Not yet. But here's what you can do. Something so small it barely counts as anything at all. You shift the transponder code, your aircraft's electronic fingerprint, by a single digit. It's a squawk, a distress signal baked into the aviation emergency system. It will tell every controller watching a radar screen within 400 miles exactly what is happening on this plane. The question is, did he notice? 5 seconds. 10. Nothing. He didn't see it. Or he doesn't know what it means. You just bought yourself something. You're not sure what yet, but it's something. The man starts talking again. He tells you to descend to 28,000 feet and alter your heading to 074 degrees. You run the math in your head instantly. That heading doesn't take you toward New York. It doesn't take you toward Europe. It takes you north, away from major air corridors, away from the dense radar coverage that blankets the North Atlantic. He's trying to get you off the grid. You comply, because right now, compliance is survival. But as you bank the aircraft and watch the heading change on the navigation display, something catches your eye. A small detail, something that doesn't add up. The man told you to descend to 28,000 feet, not 10,000, not 5,000, not the kind of altitude a hijacker uses when they want to threaten a crash. He wants you high. He wants you fast. He wants you going somewhere specific. This isn't a suicide mission. That thought changes everything. Chapter 4. Split second. 40 minutes in. You've been flying the altered heading for 40 minutes. And now, you know 3 things you didn't know before. First, there are 2 of them in the cockpit. The second one appeared 20 minutes ago, slipping through the door without a word. Younger. Nervous. Where the first man is cold, this one is burning. His eyes move too fast. His breathing is too shallow. He's the dangerous one. Not because he's stronger, but because he's afraid. Second, there is at least 1 more in the cabin. You heard the intercom click 3 times in a specific pattern, a signal, a check-in. Someone back there is managing the passengers. Third, and this is the one that keeps pulling at you like a splinter in your brain. Your fuel load is wrong. You filed for JFK. You have fuel for JFK, plus reserves. But this heading, 074, sustained at this altitude and speed, you're looking at a range that goes well beyond any diversion airport the hijacker might logically want. Unless he knows something about this plane that you don't. You need to make a decision. And you need to make it soon. Option 1. You keep complying. You keep flying. You trust that the squawk code is being read, that somewhere down there military aircraft are being scrambled, that someone has a plan you're not seeing from inside this cockpit. Option 2. You act. You have tools, subtle ones. A pilot has more control over a crisis than most hijackers understand. You can introduce a pressurization anomaly, slow, gradual, almost undetectable, that will begin to make every untrained person on this plane feel drowsy and confused within 20 to 25 minutes. It won't hurt anyone, but it might change the dynamic. Or you can do something even simpler, even more dangerous. You can talk to him. Your co-pilot glances at you. He read the same thought on your face that you read on his. He gives the smallest possible nod. A millimeter of movement. You clear your throat. We have a problem, you say. The gun shifts. The fuel, you continue, keeping your voice perfectly flat. Professional. Pilot to pilot, almost. At this heading and altitude, we have approximately 3 hours and 12 minutes of flight time. If your destination requires more than that, we need to discuss an intermediate stop. Silence. Then, something unexpected. He asks you where you'd suggest. And that question, tells you everything you've been trying to figure out for the last 40 minutes. He doesn't know exactly where he's going. He has a direction. He has a plan. But the specifics, the logistics, he needs you for those, which means you're not just the pilot of a hijacked plane. You're his navigator, his consultant, his partner, whether you like it or not. And that is the most dangerous kind of leverage, because it works both ways. Chapter 5. Target found 2 hours and 8 minutes into the hijacking. Everything changes. It starts with a sound from behind the cockpit door. Muffled. Tense. Then a single hard thud against the bulkhead. The younger hijacker snaps his head toward the door. The older one, the calm one, says something sharp and quiet in a language you don't fully understand. But you catch 2 words. You've been to enough countries over 17 years to catch 2 words. Not yet. Which means soon. Your blood runs cold. You've been building a picture in your mind this whole time, piece by piece, hint by hint, of what this is actually about. The heading that goes nowhere obvious. The fuel calculation that only works if you're going somewhere remote. The calm that comes from someone who believes what they're doing is justified. The way he looked at the flight manifest when he first came in. You saw it in his hands, a printed page. And he looked at it the way a man looks at something he's already memorized. He wasn't checking names. He was confirming one specific name. There is someone on this plane he came for. And whatever happens when he finds them, that's what not yet is protecting you from. Your co-pilot figures it out at the same moment you do. You can feel it, the way the air between you changes. He turns slightly in his seat, opens his mouth to say something, thinks better of it. The younger hijacker is now pacing. Short, tight steps behind the center console. The gun in his hand isn't pointed at you anymore. It's swinging loosely at his side as he paces, which is somehow worse. An undirected weapon is more frightening than a directed one. You have maybe 10 minutes before whatever not yet is becomes now. Here's what you know. A military intercept is almost certainly in progress. The squawk code you entered over 90 minutes ago will have triggered a response. Somewhere behind you, or above you, or below the cloud cover, there are fighters watching this aircraft, waiting, but they can't land this plane for you. They can't unlock that cockpit door. They can't stop what's about to happen in the cabin. Only you can do that. You think about the 287 people behind you. You think about the school group in rows 22 through 29. You think about the flight attendant, senior crew, 15 years of service, who knocked the coded signal on the intercom 40 minutes ago, telling you the cabin is contained but not secure. She's back there right now, making decisions just like you. You make yours. You speak. I know who you're here for, you say. The pacing stops. The older hijacker turns. Really turns. The first time he's fully faced you since this began. And in that moment, for the first time, he looks at you not as a tool, not as a means to an end, but as a person. That is your opening. If you hurt anyone, you continue, measuring every word like weight on a scale, this ends badly for everyone, including the person you're here for. But if you talk to me, right now, I can get you what you need without anyone dying. The younger one raises his gun. The older one reaches out and pushes it down. Silence. Then, slowly, the older man sits down in the jump seat behind you. The gun stays in his hand, but his posture has shifted. Not soft, not surrendered, but listening. He starts to talk, and over the next 4 minutes the story comes out. Not all of it. Enough. The person on this manifest, a government contractor seated in business class traveling under a false name, is carrying documents, physical documents that don't exist in any digital system. Proof of something that would, in his words, expose a crime committed against his people. A crime no court would hear. A case no government would pursue. He didn't come here to cause a massacre. He came here because this was the only way left. You don't agree with what he's done. You don't accept it. But you understand it now. And understanding is the most powerful tool you have. Tell me exactly what you need, you say. Chapter 4. Touchdown secured. It takes 43 minutes. 43 minutes of the most precise, controlled communication of your entire career. You are simultaneously flying the aircraft, managing the older hijacker through a conversation that requires every ounce of your psychological training, relaying covert position updates through micro-adjustments to your transponder that a sharp ATC analyst will interpret correctly, and keeping your co-pilot steady through nothing but eye contact and the occasional press of your shoulder against his. Air traffic control has been extraordinary. You find this out later. They had you on full tactical monitoring within 18 minutes of your distress squawk. 2 RAF Typhoons have been shadowing you at a distance beyond visual range for the last hour and 20 minutes. A crisis negotiator was patched into a secondary channel that the hijackers didn't know existed and has been listening. Only listening. No transmission to everything said in this cockpit. They heard every word. When you begin your descent into a diversion airport on the coast of Iceland, an airport you suggested, an airport with a long runway and a very short list of civilians nearby, the older hijacker agrees. Not because you tricked him, not because you overpowered him, because you made him believe, correctly, that this was the only path that ended with everyone alive. Touchdown. The wheels hit the runway and you feel the vibration move through the entire aircraft, up through the seat, into your spine. The most familiar feeling in the world, the feeling of solid ground. You hold the brakes, you keep the speed down, you keep your voice steady as you make the cabin announcement yourself. Calm, clear, no panic, telling 287 passengers to remain seated, that the aircraft has landed safely, that they are not in danger. Armed response units surround the aircraft within 4 minutes. The older hijacker stands. He looks at you for a long moment. He sets the gun on the center console. Then he raises his hands and waits. It's over. The final chapter. Silent victory. They debrief you for 6 hours. You sit in a small room in a building adjacent to the runway and you answer every question twice. You drink 3 cups of coffee. You don't taste any of them. At some point, they tell you that all 287 passengers are safe, that the flight attendant in the cabin held the situation together with a composure that will later earn her a commendation. That your co-pilot, who kept that cockpit environment functional under conditions most pilots will never face, performed with distinction. They tell you about the person in business class, the contractor, the documents. They don't tell you everything. Some of it is classified, some of it is complicated, some of it is the kind of truth that doesn't fit neatly inside a courtroom or a press release. But it was real. What the man risked everything for, it was real. You think about that on the flight home, on a different plane, a smaller one sitting in a passenger seat for the first time in years. You look out the window at the clouds below and you think about the line between desperation and madness, about how thin it is, about how many times in the last few hours you stood right on the edge of it yourself. You didn't break. You didn't freeze. You made decisions, imperfect, incomplete, human decisions, under the worst possible pressure. And everyone came home. That's not a small thing. The sky outside is completely clear. You're cruising at 31,000 feet. The engine hum is steady and low and familiar. Somewhere below you, the ocean reflects the last light of the day like hammered silver. You close your eyes. For the first time in 11 hours, you breathe.